Infrastructure development in India. Infrastructure is the collection of all the supporting structures required for the country. Transportation, institutions for offering credit, energy sources, communication facilities, health, education and housing are some of the structures. India, in spite of massive investment in infrastructure in successive 5-year plans since independence, is still far behind global standards in the matter of infrastructure development. Infrastructure is broadly of two types. Economic infrastructure operates within the system of production and distribution. Some of these are the transport system, banking system and power. Social infrastructure contributes to the production process from outside the system. Some examples are education, training, hospitals and housing. Communication system is treated as both social and economic infrastructure as it has a role both within and outside the production process. Energy. Energy is the most fundamental and most important input that goes into any production process. Many North American and European countries took advantage of a time when energy costs were low to develop their economies and are now highly advanced. Although India has abundant reserves of coal and lignite, our development process has not utilized this source to the fullest. Coal was the most important source of energy during the Industrial Revolution. In the 20th century, it was replaced by oil, which was an even cheaper source. The oil-producing countries formed a cartel, OPEC, and increased the price of crude oil, which fueled global inflation affecting India and other developing countries. India spends as much as 30% of its foreign exchange towards purchase of crude oil and petroleum products. There has been an increasing dependence on oil since 1990s and hence the Indian import of crude oil has also gone up significantly. It is estimated that at the current level of consumption, the recoverable reserves of oil in India would last for only 20 to 25 years. Coal. Coal is the most important indigenous source of energy. India is today the third largest producer of coal in the world. Our lignite reserves are mostly in Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Rajasthan and Jammu and Kashmir. Coal production has increased 4 times since the nationalization of coal industries. Power generation has been hindering India's economic development to a certain extent. The National Electricity Policy 2005 recognizes electricity as a basic human need and lays down as per capita availability of power. India's capacity of power generation has significantly increased since 1947. In the Indian Electricity Act 2003, main focus was to manage distribution by panchayats, NGOs, etc., metering of all electric supply and to allow center and state level transmission utilities to continue as government companies. It also made State Electricity Regulatory Commissions SERC a mandatory requirement and stringent punishment for theft of power was enforced. The Act was amended in 2007 to remove licensing requirement for sale of power from captive units and made a non-bailable offence. In order to bring about changes in the power sector, central government has introduced the Accelerated Power Development and Reform Program. This program seeks to shift the focus from generation to transmission and distribution. Telecommunication. At the end of the monopoly of Department of Telecommunications, the new telecom policy of 1999 has fostered the telecommunication department's growth to new heights. They exceeded their target of the number of telephone sales. The rural and urban tele-density has reached impressive numbers. More than 72% of the total telephone connections are being provided by the private sector. The FDI's growth from 49% to 74% has been an important source of financing this growth. The National Telecom Policy brought about an important reform in the form of Universal Service Obligation USO. Basic telecom services were being provided at very reasonable and affordable prices. USO derives its funds by charging a universal service levy, a percentage of the revenue earned by the operators. USO fund covers rural and remote areas with public access telephone and individual rural household phones. Information Technology. The introduction of the Information Technology Act 2000 was the beginning of a new era for India's IT industry. Software exports from India grew from 1999-2000 and went on to set a new landmark during 2004-2005. E-commerce and electronic transactions were handled within a legal framework. It attends to the needs of privacy, authenticity, integrity, and non-disclaimer over the Internet. According to a study conducted by ASSOCHAM 2005, India has captured 6% of the global pie in services and IT software in 2008-9, achieving total revenue of more than $50 billion US. Of this, exports accounted for about $40 billion US. Private participation in infrastructure. The estimated investment requirements in infrastructure is about 45,000 crores in the next 5 years and a further rupees 75,000 crores in the subsequent 5 years, according to Rakesh Mohan Committee. An investment of this magnitude is hard to achieve unless innovative financing patterns are evolved to encourage private investments. Some steps like setting up of the Infrastructure Development Finance Company, IDFC, and strengthening the capital of National Highways Authority of India, NHAI, have been taken.